$1,900.07 my first week doing DoorDash. There's the proof, March 28th to April 3rd. And I'm not going to show you the more recent weeks here because I'll get to those in later videos. But I just want to explain how my first week went. You'll see right here at the bottom, March 21 through 27. If I click into that, there were 2 days, March 26th and 27th. Those were the very first 2 days I ever did it. And then this was my first full week, March 28th through April 3rd. And so that's what I'm counting as my first full week. There's not a huge gas cost to deduct from that. There's actually only 1 tank of gas that I paid for total. I'll explain that more throughout the video. Best Dasher alive, aka Lil Dane. Here to share some tips, tricks, hacks, strategies, and executions to help you make $2K in a week from DoorDashing. And if you've got some questions, type those out into the comment section. And so going into this, there were only a couple of things I knew about DoorDash, or that I had really just caught wind of, I guess you could say, as far as earning money from DoorDash. Don't worry about the acceptance rate and try and stick to $2 a mile or better. And then the only other thing I was thinking about as far as DoorDash goes was just location. I realized I'm probably in a good location with a lot of food spots, a lot of people, and I'm also able to just cruise around on an e-bike, which means no gas costs. And it's also an e-bike, which means different set of road rules. It's a bike. You can use sidewalks, bike lanes. You can also use regular lanes. So I was like, I can probably actually get around pretty quickly also. And so I figured all that combined, why not give it a shot and see what kind of damage we can do on DoorDash. By the way, there's 52 weeks in a year. So if you go 52 times 1,900, that's $98,800. This was my first week doing it. And so if you were to estimate that some weeks can be a bit higher than that, maybe even a lot higher than that, you could be making 100K just from DoorDashing. Now this first week, and I'll talk about this more, I went pretty dang hard. Like I didn't go as hard as I possibly could, but I mean, I put in some real hours. Just where I was work. It was some real work, real hours doing work, but I mean, there's not really many jobs out there that you can make that much money from without putting in a lot of work. And those jobs, often you gotta have degrees and a bunch of school that you had to pay for and job interviews and blah, 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 blah. Like this is like, just sign up on the app and get going. So day one went pretty well. I just got straight to it. It's not super complicated. You just use the app, follow its instructions. That's pretty much it. I learned that there will be some bugs, not in the app itself, sure, but also just in the flow of things. There's gonna be some things to learn. Like for example, I learned that McDonald's, after like 9 p.m. here, it's just drive-through. And so I learned that if it's busy past 9 p.m., don't do McDonald's, because then you've just got to sit in a drive-through line, which is wasting a bunch of time. And so just little things like that. DoorDash will send you offers that will take you outside of the zone. That's wasted time to have to drive back in, and it's not giving you orders along the way. And so I just learned that's a little bit more efficient, maybe even a lot more efficient, to drop off an order that's in zone. So once you drop that off and hit complete order on your phone, you're already able to start receiving new orders. Day two, and I should mention that one thing I really also wanted to see, there were several things I wanted to test, but one was, as I'm just doing like my normal daily tasks, like going to run an errand or going to take my dog to the park or something like that, if I just DoorDash along the way, is that possible? And so if I'm headed to the store and I turn on DoorDash and for a second and see what orders come in, if there's one along the way, well then now couple quick stops to grab the food and drop it off, I just got paid to go wherever I was going to go. Now here's the start of my first full week where I made the $1,900. And on March 28th, I made $239. And I also tried to DoorDash my own orders. So I would, just as a regular customer ordering food on DoorDash, put an order in and then look on the Dasher app to see if I get offered that order. I tried that twice on day 3 and I didn't have any luck seeing my order or being able to pick up my order. So DoorDash says that an active hour is once you accept an offer to when you drop off that delivery. That's your active time. And day 4, March 29th, was $175.87 in 6.2 active hours. I had the app on, which they consider as inactive hours, for 11.8 hours. But yeah, having the app on is really not, you just hear the dings go off and you gotta look at it, but it's not like, I don't consider that working at all, because you can be doing whatever else you want to be doing in your life and just be listening and looking at the offers as they come in. So I don't really consider that as actual work time. Can I train the algorithm a little bit to make me more money faster? Basically, give me better offers. I'm gonna say yes. Yes, you can to an extent, and I'll share those tips and tricks along the way here. Day 6, so like I said, I've done most of this just on an e-bike. I did spend in this week 1 tank of gas, so that's, I don't know, 300 miles driven, something like that, in a car. And one thing that I learned in a car that I like to do is be willing to walk, and also if you skate, because sometimes, depending on where you're at again, but sometimes if you're in busy areas where parking is difficult, or if you got a double or triple order and you've got to go to 2 or 3 different spots, to find a parking spot, park, turn it off, get out, get back in, turn it on, reverse out, drive to, like, that's just, that adds up. It adds up wear and tear on your car, but also just time-wise. And so I learned in a car, like on an e-bike, you can just pull the bike right up to the door, not have to worry about parking, and that's just way more efficient. But in a car, I learned that to avoid some of that, you can just walk. Like, don't be afraid to walk across the street, to walk across the parking lot. Just leave your car sitting there and walk and grab the orders. And then also I keep a little, it's like a mini longboard in my car, skateboard, and just cruise around on that as well. It's not necessarily so much about like hurry and get things done as fast as possible. Efficient, yes, but just like pure hustle and hurry, I don't think actually works for you DoorDash wise. I started that way on these e-bikes that you can move around really quick on, and I just ended up waiting at restaurants a lot. Strategize a little bit better about how you train the algorithm and which orders you take, and then that's really where you'll make more money instead of so much about like how fast are you. And that's why it's not about being the fastest dasher alive, but being the best dasher alive. Alright, day 7 and day 8, this is where I really felt like I figured out the algorithm thing a little bit. Let me preface this with a couple things. You don't have to do this every single time, and actually don't do this every single time. That might be a little bit abusive, just too much. Like, don't overdo this, but use it, but don't overuse it. And then also, I've found that this works very well the busier it gets. When it's slow, you kind of get what you get. If it's slow, it's slow. 2 digits in front of the period is what I like to see. Meaning, like, if it's a 9, 8, 7 and below offer, I typically like to avoid those. I want more in the $10 to $25 range. $10 to $14 is kind of like a nice sweet spot, I'd say. Above that, getting offers above that is more rare. But when the small ones come in, like a $3, $4, $5, $6, I go to decline and I hit order is too small and click submit. And the reason I do that is because that is the one place the algorithm allows us to input information as to why we don't want that order. And so in this case, it's too small. And I think they're a little bit tricky about how they word it, because they don't go, I'm not getting paid enough, right? They say the order is too small. And in my opinion, that might trick some people into thinking the number of items in the order, and in my opinion, what DoorDash is saying is the dollar amount's too small, but they don't want to just say that, because then everybody would just sit there and click that all the time, right? Like, but in my hypothesis was, and I've seen this work, is that if on those really small ones, click the order is too small, decline it because the order is too small, and that is you saying to the algorithm, hey, the reason why I'm not accepting this one is because it's too small, and the algorithm's going to go, okay, well then I'm going to look for a bigger one and try and give that to you. And so what I've seen is it will, and look, this isn't like just because you did that, now here comes the big one. I mean, it varies. Sometimes you get a good one next, sometimes it takes 3 or 4, sometimes it doesn't happen. But like, it definitely helps, and especially when it's busy, I promise that this works. Say you get a $6 one, decline because it's too small, next one comes in, now it's a bigger one, but now it's sending you way too far out of your zone, or it's not enough money for how many miles you're about to travel. But let's just say it's this happens to me a lot. Like literally this scenario where I too small, and then now it sends me a bigger one, but it's like, oh man, that's so far, it's not a great amount per mile, and it's dropping me out of zone where I have to drive another 10 minutes just to get back into zone to be able to receive more offers. And so then what I do is I go decline, distance is too far, submit. And so now it has 2 pieces of information from me. One, he didn't like the small order, so we got to try to find him a bigger one. We sent him a bigger one, but now he said it's too far for him. So now let's try and find one that's bigger than that first one, but closer than that other one that we just sent him. And so now we send him, boom, a McDonald's one that's decent. Like it's drops him in the zone. Say it's like a $12 one, but it's 10 at night and it's super busy. And so I'm sitting there going, man, if it wasn't that store, if it was any other store except McDonald's, then yeah, I would accept that one. But I know that drive-through line's super long right now, so it doesn't make sense. So then I go decline. I don't want to go to this store. Submit. And so now it's got another piece of information that's like, okay, this doesn't like the small ones, doesn't like the long ones, doesn't like this store. So let's find one that's bigger, closer, and not this store, and send them that offer. Day 9, I learned more about how much location does actually matter. So like I said, I was already, where I'm living right now already is just in a spot that's close to a lot of people and a lot of food places, so that worked out well. And so when I started getting orders right from places here close by. But I've definitely learned that if I go drive over, a couple miles away to another food spot and sit there for a little bit, I start to get more orders from that spot. So hanging out by certain restaurants or certain groups of restaurants is definitely more likely to get you offers from those restaurants. When it dings, when you get an offer, kind of just circle that area or loop around that block again, or maybe just park your car there for a second. If you're in a spot where you're getting them, stay there because there's offers right in that area. One thing I did test was the client saying an order is too small to a $25 order. Because usually I'll say an order is too small on like a $6, a $9 order. And I've even done it on like a $10, $11, $12 order. And then I've gotten like a $17 one after that when it's busy. And so like it does work. And so I finally was like, what if I do it on a $25 one? Is it possible for it to then come back to me with like a $30, $35, $40 offer? It might be possible in an extremely busy time. It didn't work for me. I tried it and it didn't work. I actually felt like and this is again where I say don't abuse the decline button, because I felt like that time it was like, okay, now you're being stupid, and it just didn't send me offers for a while after that. Kind of like penalized me a little bit, although I don't think it's like a punishment. It's just like that was a good order. If you can't accept that, then I don't have anything to send you right now type of a thing. The ratings your customer rating, acceptance rate, completion rate, on time or early. Let me talk about those real fast. So you'll see that at the bottom of it, it just says, this is just another way for you to track your time. So really what these ratings are for is more for the dasher, just so like you or I can keep track and kind of see how I'm doing. But these ratings are not the ratings that the algorithm uses to like rank you or rate you as a dasher. Sure, these can be some of the things that the algorithm factors into it ranking you as a dasher, but there's a bunch of different other things that the algorithm's considering. Like I've noticed that, you know, people are really scared to like see their acceptance rate drop, to see their like completion rate drop. And obviously your customer rating, like, yeah, you want to keep that absolutely as high as possible. Like there's just not really any reason customers should not be giving you good ratings. I've just barely passed 100, my first 100 ratings. I got 1 star and 2 3 stars and 97 5 stars. And it was like my first 80 were all 5 stars before I got anything less than that. And so I think that one is obviously going to be super important. But like acceptance rate, you don't need to try and keep that one high. Mine like right now is sitting at 10%, and it's usually like I'd say probably the highest it's been since I've really done like a bunch of orders is probably like 30%. And I'm not saying that that's the range you should be in. Again, it's just a matter of understanding that DoorDash gives you the ability, the option to accept the offer or not. So it's like just find ones that work for you, and that's okay, even if that means your acceptance rate is low. Completion rate I do also think is important, but not as important as you might think. Like it's okay to cancel an order if the restaurant's taking too long. That's not on you as the dasher. So like just go in there, hit can't do this order for the reason why, select the order's not ready from the restaurant. I've actually seen that if I get to a restaurant, they're taking way too long, I cancel the order. I've actually been surprised that DoorDash comes back quick with strong orders, good orders, and I'm able to jump right back into another one. And also, the ratings that it shows you here is only based on the last 100 orders. So every new order you take on is phasing out previous orders that were included in that 100. So like, again, it's just, I think the ratings in the app are truly more for the dasher just to kind of gauge things, and are not the data points that the algorithm is using to determine if you're a good dasher or not. Just figure out which ones you want to accept, and accept them and complete them on time and with happy customers. And that's pretty much, in my opinion, all the DoorDash algorithm is going to care about.